Yako everyone, my name is Juana Bain, and I will be speaking to you about the people of the Marshall Islands and their culture. A little about myself. I was born and raised in the Marshall Islands. I came to the U.S. in '93 and attended a college in Kansas. Before I moved to Arkansas, I visited several states, and in '96 when I visited Arkansas for a big Marshallese event, there were so many Marshallese in Arkansas that it felt like home, so I never left Arkansas. I went to work for Northwest Medical Center as an instrument tech, and after 4 years, I went to work for the Washington County Health Department as an outreach worker under the Communicable Diseases Department, and worked mostly with the Marshallese and Latino families. Our learning objectives for today will be to describe the background and history of the Marshallese in the U.S. and in Northwest Arkansas, identify common health risk factors found in the Marshallese population, identify cultural characteristics of the Marshallese that may influence their health behaviors, identify common Marshallese health beliefs, and use cross-cultural communication skills to address the health concerns of the Marshallese patients. Let's start with some history and background on our Marshallese. The Marshallese population in the U.S. has tripled between 2000 and 2010 from 6,700 to 22,400. Approximately there are 11,000 Marshallese living in Northwest Arkansas, concentrated primarily in Springdale. Arkansas has the largest population of Marshallese living in the continental U.S. Aside from the Marshallese, there are other Pacific Islander groups in Northwest Arkansas. There are Native Hawaiians, there are Chuukese, Pohnpeians, Yapis, Palauans, Coast-Ryans, Guamanians or Chamorros, Samoans, Tongans, Fijians, and Gilbertese. This map gives you an indication of where the Marshall Islands are in respect to other countries. They are between Hawaii and Guam. Getting to the Marshall Islands is approximately a 10-hour plane ride from Northwest Arkansas to Hawaii and another 5-hour plane ride from Hawaii. The Marshall Islands is a group of islands that cover a large area of ocean, about 750,000 square miles. That's about the size of the state of Texas. And only about 70 square miles of total land area, about the size of Northwest Arkansas. So a better way to describe it or to picture it would be to break up Northwest Arkansas into many tiny pieces and throw it all over a body of water the size of Texas. There are 29 habitable atolls and 5 islands. Walking or boating are the dominant forms of transportation in the outer islands. But about 70% of the population live on Ibai, which is on Kwajalein, and Mejero, the capital of the Marshall Islands. Here's Mejero, and here's Kwajalein right here. I grew up on Mejero, the capital. Bikini Atoll is located towards the northwest of Pierre. The modern bikini swimsuit was named after Bikini Atoll. It was first introduced 4 days after the first atomic bomb was dropped on Bikini Atoll. Between 1946 and 1958, the U.S. carried out multiple nuclear tests on multiple islands in the Marshall Islands, totaling an equivalent to 7,200 Hiroshima-sized bombs. So imagine a Hiroshima-sized bomb being dropped every day for 12 years. On March 1st, 1954, Bravo, a 15-megaton bomb, the largest thermonuclear device detonated by the U.S., was dropped on Bikini Atoll. Needless to say, the Marshallese were exposed to enormous amounts of radiation, and their fishing and food sources were destroyed. In 1986, the U.S. signed the Compact of Free Association, or COFA, with 3 Pacific Island states: Republic of the Marshall Islands, Republic of Palau, and the Federated States of Micronesia, which include Pohnpei, Chuuk, Coast-Rye, and Yap. Basically, COFA allowed members of the freely associated states to live, work, and study in the U.S. permanently without a visa or a green card. COFA migrants travel to and from the U.S. with a passport. COFA gave the U.S. greater control and exclusive access to over 1 million square miles of the Pacific, and it allowed the U.S. to conduct military activities in the Marshall Islands as seen on Kwajalein Atoll's Ronald Reagan Ballistic Missile Defense Test Site, which conducts ballistic missiles and missile interceptor tests and space operations support. Kwajalein is both a safety net for the U.S. where it intercepts incoming missiles, but it's also like a sitting duck where the base is a strategic target. Prior to the healthcare reform of '96, COFA migrants were eligible for federally funded benefits programs like Medicaid, Medicare, and the Children's Health Insurance Program, or CHIP. After the healthcare reform, COFA migrants were no longer considered qualified immigrants. So while other resident aliens have a 5-year waiting period, COFA migrants were completely removed from Medicaid benefits. For our Marshallese, this is a difficult concept to grasp as they pay local, state, and federal taxes. Why do we discuss health insurance? Or because of health issues within the Marshallese population. In the U.S., leading causes of death for Asian Americans or Pacific Islanders in 2010, according to CDC, were cancer, heart disease, stroke, unintentional injuries, and diabetes. This is similar to the leading causes of death in the U.S. overall, with the exception of unintentional injuries. In the Marshall Islands, Majuro Atoll, leading causes of death in 2010 were sepsis, cancer, diabetes, pneumonia, and hypertension. It is important to note the prevalence of diabetes in the Marshall Islands on Majuro Atoll is 20%. And this is from a STEP survey in '98. We think that the numbers have increased. The prevalence of diabetes among the Marshallese in Northwest Arkansas is about 50%. The U.S. average is only 8%. So we know that the Marshallese have significant health issues. Let's talk about some of the factors that influence health behaviors among the Marshallese, such as family, health beliefs, religion, diet, exercise, and languages. Marshallese live in extended families, so there are multiple generations living under one roof. Sisters, brothers, and cousins are considered mothers and fathers to children. Older adults act as decision makers for the whole family and not just the home. The needs of the family are more important than the needs of the individual. Roles of elders have prestigious status in Marshallese families. Age indicates knowledge and experience, and older adults are respected for their knowledge. Family members look to the elders for advice. Adults and teens are expected to contribute, while seniors are expected to stay home and mostly take care of the children. Younger generations will care for their old, and the Marshallese elders are not sent to nursing or retirement homes. To do so is dishonorable and shameful. In most cases, male is expected to provide for his family financially, though in the U.S. both parents tend to work. The breadwinner tends to have significant influence in the decision makings. The Marshallese culture is one of a matrilineal culture, where in the islands the land rights are handed down through women, and decisions that affect the house and children are made by the oldest women in the home. The elder women in the home also hold positions of influence in child rearing. Due to the shift to a modern economy, changes in tradition and family roles have become necessary. Traditionally, a matrilineal culture this started changing when the Spanish started colonizing the islands. Spanish men refused to bargain or negotiate with the women, and despite the power they held in the Marshallese community, they refused to deal with the women and only with the Marshallese men. Traditionally, where elders made significant life decisions for the youth, Westernization has led many young people to strive for independence and greater personal freedom, resulting in internal conflict within our Marshallese families. Most Marshallese families will try self-medicating or using herbal and traditional remedies before seeking professional medical care. Acculturated immigrants are more accepting of Western medicine. There are several types of healers in our Marshallese culture. Our Marshallese patients may use a riuno, which is a general healer. A ribitbit is a healer who attends to muscle and bone injuries and bone settings. And we could also use anijanij, or healing spells or chants. We could also use a rikapel, one who uses black magic or puts curses on others to cause illnesses. And Marshallese view skin conditions as curses by another rikapel. Some remedies that Marshallese will seek first are using of herbal remedies, a riuno, or other traditional healers. When using traditional healers, our Marshallese may be put on special diets, bathing restrictions, or sexual activity restrictions. Many Marshallese will try to get a prescription medication sent in from the Marshall Islands, from relatives in the Marshall Islands, or use other family members' prescriptions first before seeking a healthcare provider. Mental illness is usually seen as a result of a curse or a spell by other Marshallese or a rikabel. It's usually seen as a curse cast after a disagreement or a love spell gone wrong, and it's not associated with stigma as it is in American culture. The heavier and curvier body type is viewed as healthy. A married person, usually a female, who isn't curvy is believed to be in an unhealthy marriage where the husband or the family of the husband is not taking good care of her. The Marshallese man cannot be too slim also. He may be viewed as sick and too weak to do the heavy work around the home and take care of his wife and family. So advising patient to lose weight might not be followed because it would create a negative body image and be viewed as an insult, and you may not want to start with this. This is a typical outer island church. Churches play a pivotal role in the Marshallese community. Numerous social and economic benefits come with being part of the church community. Church networks show great promise as avenue to reach large numbers of individuals and organize supportive action. And this could be seen by the research groups that go out to the many churches in the Marshallese community, and this is how they got their prevalence of 50% prevalence of diabetes in our Northwest Arkansas Marshallese community. Nearly 95% of our Marshallese are Christians. The major religious groups are the United Church of Christ, Assembly of God, Baptist, Seventh-day Adventist, Catholic, and the Church of Latter-day Saints. Churches can bring people up in the community through community connections or networks. They could also provide a social safety net by providing resources and support. Diet and nutrition also plays an important role in Marshallese culture and health issues. Prior to the nuclear testing in the 40s and 50s, the Marshallese traditional diet consisted mainly of fish, seafood, fruits and vegetables, coconut, breadfruit, taro, pandanus, and leafy greens. After the testing, most food sources were contaminated and were replaced with rice, white bread, potatoes, ramen, canned meat like Spam, tuna, corned beef, sugary drinks, soda, Kool-Aid, sweet tea, sweet coffee with cream. And the only canned vegetables we tend to eat are corn and green beans. A Marshallese family prepares for the whole family. We all eat from one pot. So even though an extended family lives under the same roof, the meal is prepared for the whole family. This is slowly changing with people moving into the United States and working different shifts. When the meal is prepared at the home or the KMMs, adults tend to have more variety in their meals. This is only because we know the children will not eat the vegetables, and we don't want food to go to waste. If we know kids won't eat, we won't make it an option. And most Marshallese won't fight with their kids over eating more variety or eating vegetables and fruits and vegetables. When recommending exercise or increasing physical activity, consider whether the patient is a new immigrant, an acculturated Marshallese, or U.S. born. Most Marshallese tend to, they need incentives to exercise, and we won't exercise just to exercise. As seen through local events that happen in Northwest Arkansas, Marshallese only exercise if there is a big event coming up, like the Marshallese Constitution Day that happens on around May, the last weekend of May, the Memorial Day weekend, or around. They also do celebrations during Labor Day weekend or 4th of July, and that is an incentive for them to go out into the fields and practice or do exercises. They may think that they have too much work at home or on the job to make time to exercise, and they think that our busy schedules and work at home keeps them active enough. Marshallese older adults are less likely to be active. Exercise is not viewed as dignified, and elders have earned the right to do less, and younger members often are charged with the chores. Language plays a very important part in health issues. Determine whether the patient speaks enough English to understand. Don't make assumptions that the patient or family members do or don't speak English. Provide written materials in both Marshallese, if you have them, and English. This is ideal because even if they aren't proficient in English, they may have someone at home who can read it for them. Use plain English with a 4th grade reading level. Most of our Marshallese in Northwest Arkansas do not have a high school education. We know that the use of family members as interpreters is not ideal, but sometimes it's necessary. Because of family roles, healthcare professionals may find themselves in a group of family members when sharing medical information. Consider who is in the room before sharing the information. It is very inappropriate to discuss health issues when male relatives are present and vice versa. Consult with the patient in private about who is approved family member to speak with regarding care, and whether the patient is comfortable using the interpreter provided by the clinic or the hospital. Sometimes interpreters may be related to the patient, or they may be there may be family issues between the interpreter and the patient that may prevent both from cooperating. Again, there are legal requirements to provide language services if patients cannot speak or comprehend English. Some considerations for providers and staff. When using interpreters, consider the appropriateness of the interpreter. It is better to use a female interpreter for a female patient and a male interpreter for a male patient. Again, does the interpreter know the patient personally? If so, ask if it's okay to use the interpreter, or to ask if it's okay with the interpreter to use them for the patient. Prior to the conversation with the patient, explain to the interpreter what information you are trying to convey and obtain. Start conversation by greeting the patient first and speak directly to the patient rather than to the interpreter. It's always helpful to position the interpreter off to the side and behind the patient. Speak in first person directly to the patient. Tell me what brings you in versus ask her what brought her in today. Pay attention to the patient's body language. It can tell you a lot. Always remember, nodding does not necessarily mean comprehension or agreement, denote a comprehension or agreement. Sometimes we're just being polite, or we want to hurry so we can hurry up and leave. Ask the interpreter about any potential cultural misunderstandings. When you're using your interpreters, remember to pause often, speak at an even pace, and allow interpreter time to interpret. Don't use double negatives. This is confusing in English and even so in translating. Ask interpreter's opinion of whether or not the patient seems to understand the relayed information, or if there may be any cultural misunderstandings again. Be aware it takes longer to translate into Marshallese since there's only 30,000 vocabulary in the Marshallese language. More considerations, time and patience are key. This is true for any patient interaction, but more so for the Marshallese. We may not tell you what we need immediately, depending on our comfort level. It may take time, take many visits before a Marshallese patient is comfortable enough to tell you what they really need or what they're really in for. Work on gaining their trust first. Don't be negative. This will shut down the interaction. If you do not show interest, neither will we. Most do not welcome physical contact like hugs, touching hair, patting their back, but we will do so, or we will be okay if it's for an exam. Marshallese live in an immediate world, so we tend to expect immediate results. Educate patient that it may take time to see improvements, and usually there is more compliance in seeing when Marshallese patients are treated as walk-in appointments or same-day appointments. More considerations for our providers. When talking about medications, give verbal instructions through an interpreter if available on why they need the medication. Use an interpreter also on the important points. Take time to explain the side effects of certain medicine or the medicine that you are prescribing, because with Marshallese patients, if they see side effects, if they experience side effects from the medicine, or if they have side effects from the medicine, they will see it as the medicine is not working, or the medicine made the problems worse, or they're allergic to the medicine and they will stop taking the medicine. Consider timing issues due to work when explaining when to take the medicine. Different shifts, like when you get up, use when you get up or when you go to bed rather than in the morning, in the evening, before breakfast or before dinner. Have the patient or family repeat back the instructions. Remember, nodding does not imply understanding. Consider if the patient is already using herbal or prescription medications also. If the patient is very sick, it is likely that he or she has already consulted with an elder or tried a traditional remedy or riuno. Ask open-ended questions. Example, what other medications or herbs are you using? Or what else have you tried to make the problem better? Ask about the barriers to taking the medicine, like what might keep you from taking this medicine, or what kept you from taking the medicine as prescribed, or what complications did you have with the medicine. When considering refill issues, explain the need to continue taking the medicine even if the patient is feeling better. Explain how long to continue taking the medicine, like until it is gone, every day for the next three months, and then return for a follow-up visit. If an interpreter is available, have instructions written out in simple Marshallese for the patient. To help establish value of preventative care, discuss in terms of when discussing in terms of preventative care, you can use the umbrella as an example. You know, you need the umbrella. You don't know if it's going to rain. It looks like it's going to rain. You take the umbrella with you to prevent getting wet when it does rain. You can also use that the well baby clinics. Marshallese believe in taking their children to get their shots. If they don't believe in the shot, they know they still need to get the shot because the children shot because they will be prevented from going to school. So it's the same thing. Adults may not believe that the medicine is good for them, but just they need to take it for prevention. So to summarize, the Marshallese are are a private and reserved people. We are more comfortable in settings with other Marshallese around. We do not have if you don't have Marshallese staff, consider contracting out part-time interpreters. An option for contract workers is not just as an interpreter, but as an educator, a facilitator, and advocate. Community health workers are also linkages between the Marshallese culture and the healthcare system. If you take time with your Marshallese patients, you will gain their trust, empower patients to take an active role in their health. And the Marshallese, remember the Marshallese in Northwest Arkansas is growing. The prevalence of diabetes and other chronic illnesses is very high. Providing effective care requires effective communication, respect for the patient and his or her culture. Have patience. You will need to spend extra time with our Marshallese patients. Having some understanding of the patient's culture will help, even if that means just understanding and recognizing that there is a difference between cultures. And being willing to learn about and try to understand the culture.